the chat.
When I came to I'm sorry,
I said I'm having a hard time trying to put it in the chat.
But I go to events, so I went to. Think they have, and she. Oh, oh, my son, he's about.
Okay. We are live, Amy.
Ron,
Yes.
video, please.
I'm sorry.
Start the video, please.
Oh, your computer is, your audio's, make sure that your audio volume's all the way down.
It is now.
By the way, like I said, I can't put your text into the chat. I tried.
Okay, no worries. Just start the video, that would be great.
Okay, 1 second.
אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה בקש, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה בקש, שבתי בבית אדוני, שבתי כל ימי חיי, שבתי בבית אדוני, שבתי כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם אדוני, בנועם אדוני, ובקר בהיכלו, לחזות בנועם אדוני, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. One thing שאלתי אותה אבקש.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. These words, this beautiful piece of a melody from Psalm, Psalm 27, which is the psalm we recite every day during the month of Elul. One thing, this is this excerpt of a line, is Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai. One thing that I ask of you, Adonai, Shivti beveit Adonai, that I should sit or dwell in the house of Adonai, and to visit among your majestic palace, and to really come to see the beauty of Adonai. So that is the prayer that we recite each morning, and I thought that would be a nice way to set our time. I'm Rabbi Amy Gross-Blatt-Pessa, for those of you who have not met me. And I'm excited to be back here. And we are going to be doing some spiritual conditioning for the month of Elul. So when I say spiritual conditioning, what does that conjure up for you?
Get ready.
Get ready in what way?
In all ways, thinking about what we want, what I want for everyone, that's what I'm thinking of, that would be the right thing for us to go on.
All right, thank you. What else does spiritual conditioning conjure up for you? Yeah, Jared.
Yeah, it's a holy, place and, spiritually, dominating and, Hashem is listening to us. He actually is down, it comes down to earth, like, President Donald Trump. So he's like, listening to us, listening, it's important to adopt that.
Yes,
Say, spiritually,
okay,
being holy.
Yeah.
The words are holy.
great. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. There's actually a tradition during the month of Elul that God, who is referred to as one of the metaphors in Jewish tradition as a king, right? Rosh Hashanah is the coronation ceremony of the king. I should probably say sovereign in case king is too offensive to anybody, but I'm trying to be mindful that the language traditionally is Melech, right? Melech HaMelachim, the King of Kings. And so during the month of Elul, God, as the king, sovereign, comes out into the field, and the field of like us regular people. And so it's a way for us to connect, it's like we don't have to show up to the kingdom, so to speak, right? We're out there in the field, and God is just meeting us on an everyday basis, on a regular basis. And this actually has biblical references when the kings back in the day, in the biblical times, would come out and greet the average farmer. It's funny, I was teaching and I said the average Joe, and somebody said, you mean the average Yosef? So Yosef is Hebrew for Joseph. So the average Yosef was out in the field, and God would come, or the king at that point would come and meet them. And so it's this similar analogy during the month of Elul. And in terms of spiritual conditioning, prayer is one way to get us conditioned. And we know we have a lot of prayers coming up for the high holidays.
Thank you.
So if we can start conditioning ourselves now, maybe when we show up for the high holidays, the services won't seem as long, right?
Yeah.
Or they'll seem more familiar, right? Like I've been doing this for the month. I've been working on my prayer life. And so now I'm gonna maybe hear something differently or feel something differently. When you think about your marathon running, how many people would say, you know what? I think tomorrow I'm gonna run a marathon. I'm just gonna wake up and I'm gonna just go run. Or I think I'd like to figure out how to play Beethoven's Fifth. So I'm just gonna sit down and, one day just figure it out. I'm gonna go to Carnegie Hall the next night, right? And you'd be like, what are you kidding? So it's the same way this month of Elul. We have spiritual conditioning to get ourselves ready. And so this 3-part series that I'm going to be teaching for the Lunch and Learn is about spiritual conditioning. So I'm going to be bringing lots of Jewish sources and stories and practices to get you to practice your spiritual, to elevate your spiritual muscles. So Sherry, did you have your hand up?
Only because, Cheshbon HaNefesh comes to mind right away.
Yes.
And for Cheshbon, it's accounting of the soul, for just the regular listening to the shofar, listening to that blast to remind me to return. So it's a process of teshuvah. And that's a very inward journey. And that inward journey is tough. It means looking through everything I've done in the last year and hope I measure up for projects.
Yes, so this, did everybody hear that? That cheshbon hanefesh, right? So cheshbon hanefesh, cheshbon means accounting. Nefesh is a soul, and so it's accounting of our souls. Meaning not counting, but a counting, ACC. So we take count of our souls. How did I do this year? What's my relationship like with my boss? What's my relationship like with my coworkers? What about my neighbors? What about my family? What about my pets? What about my friends? How did I respond to so-and-so in this situation? Yikes, maybe I shouldn't have responded that way. So I'm going to do this review. I'm going to go over what I did that maybe I could do better next year. And this month of Elul gives us that opportunity. And so I imagine some of you might be thinking or feeling, oh, why would I want to do that? Let's keep the past in the past. Do I really need to dredge up all of the things that I didn't do right? If I missed the mark, do I need to revisit it again? Yeah, you do. What, but why?
But we don't make the same mistakes.
So Liliana said, so we don't make the same mistakes, right? As I think any good psychologist will tell you, in order to make change, the first thing you have to be able to do is see it and acknowledge it, right? So if you don't see what you're doing wrong or responding in an unkind way, then how can you fix it, so to speak? So we want to take an accounting of our souls. And then through that process, what Sherry mentioned is teshuvah, oftentimes translated. How's teshuvah usually translated? Repentance. I personally like return.
Yeah.
Right? Shuv means to return. So what we are doing through this whole process of a cheshbon hanefesh, an accounting of our souls, is we are doing teshuvah, meaning we are turning. We are recalibrating ourselves to that divine spark within us. That's what teshuvah is. It's a recalibration, a reorienting ourselves. Any other thoughts or questions before we move to our source sheet?
Good. I just have one. Everybody has so much wisdom. If you could please talk loud enough for everybody to hear.
Okay. That means, yes. We'll do our best to project.
The return can be different each annual Elul.
Yes,
Right.
beautiful. Yes. The return can be different because we're different, right? It's the same way that we read the Torah portion every week, every year, over and over. And yet it's amazing that it's so relevant to what's going on because we change. And so our process of teshuvah might look different from year to year, right? Our inner landscape is going to change. So therefore, how we need to recalibrate, right? I'm just going to make this up. Let's say one year you were feeling incredibly generous. And so you wound up donating 50% of your income. And then you realized, I had a really hard time paying rent this year. it was really stressful. So the next year I'm gonna do my teshuva and say, I think I need to maybe go back to that 10%, which is what our tradition talks about more regularly, right? So I'm gonna donate this 10%, go back and assess the following year. And you're like, you know what? It was actually a good year. I think I can maybe I could do 15% this year. Right. So that's a very specific, like a tachlis oriented idea. It could be something with the way that you speak to somebody, right? Maybe you've decided I'm going to be very expressive of my gratitude. And so all day long, you're thanking people and thanking people and thanking people. And then somebody says, like, you don't always have to say thank you. It's my pleasure. And then you reorient yourself and you say, okay, I'm going to sit quietly. I'm going to discern inwardly. Is this a time for me to offer thanks? Right. So is everybody getting a sense of how this teshuva process is working in terms of reorienting, recalibrating? I see some head shaking, so I'm going to take that as a yes. And we will go and look at our source sheet. Just want to make sure that has been. I think I have to drop. Has that been dropped in the chat, our Zoom friends?
Ron, you there?
Let's see, has any, Robin, did you get, oh, hang on. Let me just make sure. I'm hoping that this can be shared in the chat. Let's see. It is not allowing me to share in the chat. I don't know why it says my access is restricted. So I apologize to our friends on Zoom. I will send this to the IT person to see if he is able to send it. And
He said he wasn't able to download it.
it was something different that I had sent. So
Surely they projected for the people from that.
they projected here.
Yes,
Okay, is that for me to do?
yes.
Okay, let's try that out.
Actually, shares her screen and then we're able to see the document.
That's what I'm gonna do right now. Thank you for your patience with my technical challenges at the moment.
We're all there with you.
In the meantime, you can start looking at the first text on your sheet from Shir Hashirim, from the Song of Songs. Ani l'dodi v'dodi li haroeh b'shoshanim. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. He browses among the lilies. And so if you can see the first letter, it's highlighted. The Aleph in Ani, the Lamed in Lidodi, the Vav in Vidodi, and the Lamed in Li. And you take those letters and put them together, you get Elul. It's an acronym, right? So it's just as we, it's just as we spoke about, right? God being out in the field. So this beautiful image, right? Like God is the shepherd browsing among the lilies. God is coming out to the field to greet us during the month of Elul. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. So that is a neat little acronym of, okay, so a little clue, another little clue of what Elul contains. Right, it contains this idea of beloved, of being in relationship also, with ourselves. One of my favorite quotes that I have pasted, actually bought myself a gift when I was away on vacation. It is an envelope with a piece of paper, and you would think, why would you buy this? But then if you read the quote, it says, and if I asked you to name the things you love most, how long would it take you to name yourself?
Oh, wow. Wow.
So that is my personal reminder that is on my bookshelf. Every day I look at it, right? And if I asked you to list everything that you loved, how long would it take you to list yourself?
I don't think I've ever had that.
right? So again, I'm just gonna be throwing out a lot of invitations during our time together. So maybe if this really resonates for you, maybe this becomes part of your Elul work. Right? You wake up in the morning, and as silly as it might sound, you're gonna look in the mirror and you're gonna say, I love you.
Uh-oh.
I love you, self.
You'll have to add that to the wise aging class.
I do add it to mine. Yes. Right, so again, and for some of you, you might be like, I'm already there, I already feel that way, and so this is not a practice for your spiritual conditioning. Remember, we all have different spiritual curricula, right? We all have different paths for our own spiritual growth. And so if this is something that resonates with you, great, incorporate it into your Elul practice. And if not, don't worry, I have lots more. We'll be sharing more. Did you have something to add, Spencer?
Question,
Yes.
what is the second part? He browses among the lilies.
So this quote, what the rabbis like to do, which is very brilliant, because remember, they didn't have video games to play and all of those other distractions, so they use biblical texts in very creative ways. And so this verse can be extracted from the Song of Songs. If you have not read the Song of Songs, it is one of, in my opinion, the most beautiful books in the Bible. It is quite evocative. It's really this beautiful love story between a couple and this man and woman, and what the rabbis did in order to allow its incorporation into the canon of biblical books. They said it's really a relationship between God and the Jewish people. It's quite steamy. So just, I'm putting that out there so you know what you're going to be reading. For those of you who have read it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I see like a few nods. It's really beautiful. And so this is the story, the relationship between this woman and this man, and he's browsing among the lilies is sort of one of the environs that this man is frequenting in relationship to this woman. So the literal interpretation is, okay, there's this guy and this gal, and they're going various different places, and one of them is in the fields and he's among the lilies and he wants to peek and see her. The other more interpretive could go back to where we started with God being in the field, right? God is in the field of lilies and God is coming out to greet us. So during the month of Elul, I am my beloved is mine, and God is out there in the field with the lilies. So you can take your pick if you want to go more literal or interpretive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So now what I want to do is I want to look at a few verses from the Parsha Shoftim. I understand many of you are in the Torah study group, so that was last week's Torah portion. And it was still, yes, you're still on track. It's, Ki Teitze this week, but what I wanted to do was look at some teachings, because Shoftim is the first parsha that's read when Elul starts. So Elul starts, and the first Torah reading for the month of Elul is Shoftim. And there was a really interesting creative interpretation. So as I mentioned, oftentimes there's that literal interpretation, the pshat, and then there can be more expansive interpretations. If any of you are familiar with the acronym PARDES, which is an orchard, there's the pshat, which is the most basic level. There's the remez, and this is also another acronym. So the PARDES is the P or the Pei is pshat, simple. The R or the Reish is the remez, which is a hint. So like, what might be hinted here in the text, right? If Abraham lives 99 years till whatever, lives to, what do you live to, 100 and something?
No,
100? Abraham lived till, I don't remember how many, we're gonna say 100, I will double check on that, and then we say, okay, so 100 is really 100, it means nothing else, the most simple. Then somebody might say, well, there's a hint, 100 is mea in Hebrew, and mea could mean something else, and so it's like the text is really hinting to something underneath. And then we can go even deeper and have the drash, the midrash. You've heard of midrash, right? A legend or a story. So then there's a story that is related to this verse. And then there's the mystical level, the sod for pardes, Damet. And so the Torah can be interpreted in these 4 ways. Either it's super simple, very literal, hinting at something, storytelling, Kabbalistic, mystical. And so this verse that I'm bringing, we're going to look at more of the bookends, right? The real literal, and then the much more personal, mystical, interpretive. Is that clear?
Do I need my parents' permission to be here?
No, you don't.
Okay.
This is great. So we're going to go to Shoftim. Shoftim v'shotrim tipen lecha b'chol she'arecha. And I'm just specifically focusing on those words, which you'll see in a moment. So judges and officials, you are to provide for yourselves within all your gates that Adonai your God is giving you for your tribal districts. They are to judge the people with equitable justice. Okay? So we have this remark from Rabban Shimon Gamliel, who says, do not regard justice lightly, as it is one of the stanchions that support the world. Why? It is as the sages taught, the world stands upon 3 things, upon justice, upon truth, and upon peace. Consider that if you distort judgment, you destabilize the world as one of its stanchions. So, what do you all think about that? What role does justice play in our world? It's a stabilizer, right? Justice is a stabilizer. And so this verse could be pretty literal, right? We have to make sure that the judges and the officials in our communities, in our country, in our world are coming from a place of justice so that the world is stable. A very literal interpretation. They're referring to actual judges and actual officials. And this continues. Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Eli said, I heard that if a judge wishes to seat the litigants, he may seat them. What is it that is prohibited? There may not be one litigant sitting and the other one standing. As Rabbi Ishmael said, if there was a judge and 2 people came to him for judgment, one wealthy and one impoverished, he should say to the wealthy one, dress as he is dressed, or dress him as you are dressed.
Makes sense.
Okay, so you said make sense. Why does it make sense?
Equality.
Equality, and how might a judge or a jury be impacted?
No favoritism because of status of the individual.
Exactly, right? There's no favoritism because of the status. And as much as we say we try very hard not to judge, if you were in a courtroom and you were sitting in a jury and somebody's there in a 3-piece suit and wingtips and all groomed and coiffed, and then someone else is disheveled with ripped jeans and a holy shirt and unshaven and unkempt, what are you going to think? Who's going to be guilty and who's going to be innocent in your minds?
Well, that's obvious.
It's obvious,
It is obvious, but
but it might not be obvious.
then
It might not.
they dress up the murderers in a suit and tie and make it look like he's just perfect.
Right, so it can be a problem for us as humans, right? We know that we have these judgments, again, bringing us back to spiritual conditioning. When you have a judgment, what might you be able to say to yourself?
Maybe we shouldn't stone him.
Maybe we shouldn't stone him. That's a good thing, but not so literal. Yeah,
what's on the outside may be deceptive. Sometimes it's more.
Exactly.
Look at what's on the.
Yes, we need to look at the inside, right? So there's from Pure Avot, Ethics of the Fathers. Don't look at the container, look at what's inside. So if you happen to be a person, and you don't have to admit this in any capacity, a person who might err on the side of judgment, maybe if you feel that it's to keep you safe, but whatever your reasoning is, we're not getting into it. Maybe you say to yourself, I'm gonna look at what's on the inside. Maybe that's part of your Elul work. And some of you might say, this is not even a problem for me. I don't judge. I see people who they are. Great, this one's not for you. So it's really for each of you to decide. But here we are learning from this text, if there's a situation in a courtroom, that both of the litigants or the defendants, they both have to be dressed the same way. You can't have someone who is dressed super nice and someone dressed like a schlump, right? It just, we can't do that.
Yeah, but you do automatically have two different judgments looking at people, how they dress.
Correct. That's why we want them to be dressed the same or similarly, right? So it says if they say to the wealthy person, you need to dress the way the other one is dressed, or you need to dress the other one the way you're dressed.
Well, which is more, from a biblical sense, is either more false, like a falsehood. In other words, if I was a murderer, and I dressed properly, you know, in a suit and tie and everything, like a normal crime, you get a different.
Correct, that's what Patty was saying. So they basically have to be dressed the same. Yeah,
And I was gonna say, it's so important that even if you are whatever, you're accused of whatever, they always make sure you have a suit and a tie. And, or a dress, or that you're dressed, or they, even if, more importantly, they'll go over. What are you wearing today? What are you, oh, well, take off your Gucci shoes, and, you know, it could be someone like Oprah.
yeah,
You know, like, you know what I'm saying, who, wait a minute, don't show up with your 5 carat diamonds, because they're gonna socket you, you know,
yeah,
it goes both ways.
correct.
And it just, even to this day is so important. That it really, it is, you know, it's probably science is done with this stuff, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, but at least to start at the base of zero, not to prejudge someone
correct.
better or worse.
Right, and remember, this was tied to justice, right? When we're expressing justice, there's a sense of equity. We want things to be fair so that the case can be presented, we can look at the facts without our preconceived notions. Yeah, Debbie.
I think we do that every day. I mean, I walk by the beach every morning, and a friend came to visit, she walked with me and I introduced her to someone. And later on, she said to me, it's so nice you're friends with that homeless person, and I'm like, you think she's homeless? I don't think she's homeless. But that's how my friend perceived this woman, because she wears big clothing that are tie-dyed and, you know, just.
Wow, yeah.
So we make judgments
Yes.
on people every day, and you need to have the evidence. So I know she's a retired school teacher, and I have these other facts that make me not feel that way. But that's how she was.
Yeah, so that's a great example, right? How do we
Yeah.
How do we
find
check
the evidence in
ourselves?
the fact,
Right.
Not what they look like.
Yeah, exactly. Tara.
I know I look different. Oh, you do? Oh, yeah. I mean, imagine that. And so I used to work in DC in the federal government, and I would go up to like the Capitol and everything. And so I remember one day I had a pantsuit on, pants and jean jacket, and I looked great. And then we were at lunch. And then I'm eating my tuna wrap, and all of a sudden the thing decided to unfurl like a tuna, and I'm like, oh gosh.
Oh,
So I realized at home I had a skirt, it was like a 3-piece set. All right, put the skirt on, I'm like, great, I'm gonna be going to the White House. Meeting Obama's cybersecurity czar, the Capitol, and I have on my tattoos on my legs. And it's like, don't worry about it, we're IT people, we're supposed to be IT. I'm like, I don't know. So I'm standing there, and all these women, obviously staffers, are staring at me like, look what the cat dragged me. And I can feel the eyes. And then all of a sudden, Howard Kurtz, he used to be Obama's cybersecurity czar, walks over to me and he goes, those are some cool artwork. And he starts talking to me and he goes, do you buy a Harley, by the way? I said, I do. So he's showing me all his Harleys. And his phone, and they're talking to me. And I looked over at them like. You know what? And then when I go to meetings, or I used to go to meetings before the pandemic, I wear outfits. And so sometimes people would see this book now.
Yeah.
And then this guy comes up to me and he goes, how do you work with all of that? I said, very well, actually. And I said, very well. Then I have a business card. I said, I'm actually a shareholder of my company. I'm on the secretary. What do you do? Well, I work in that cubicle. I'm like, oh, great, of course you do.
Yeah, so exactly. Can't judge a book by its cover. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
All right, so now where I want to go is I want to look at this text by Alan Liu. Fantastic book if you have not read it. Alan Liu, of blessed memory. This is real and you were completely unprepared. It's a fantastic book. So this is what he says. There's a great Hasidic Torah commentary called the Iturei Torah. And he reads this passage, the passage we just read from Shoftim about judges and officials, as an imperative of a different sort, an imperative for a kind of inner mindfulness. According to the Iturei Torah, there are 7 gates, 7 windows to the soul. The 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the 2 nostrils, and the mouth. Everything that passes into our consciousness must enter through one of these gates. So at the deepest level, the passage cited above has nothing to do with the establishment of a system of judges and courts, but deals rather with being mindful of the process of consciousness itself. So I'm just going to take us back to, if I can highlight this, where you can look up on the screen where it says Bechol She'arecha. So the first 2 words in 16:18, back to Shoftim, the first line we were doing, it says Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol she'arecha. The translation is within all of your gates. Sha'ar is a gate, in all of your gates. So what are these gates? Exactly, right? So all of what passes through our eyes, our ears, our nostrils, or our mouth becomes part of our consciousness. So is it about actually setting up a system of justice? Or is it about consciousness? About my internal landscape? What is this about? And the answer is yes. Right? Yes, and. It's about having a world that's just and equitable and setting up judges and officials, and it's about our own inner landscape. It's about the 7 gates, our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, and how what we take in affects our consciousness.
I'm astonished.
You're astonished.
Yeah, I am. I'm like, wow. Why didn't I know this when I was 30? I mean, like, I just like, at least we're learning. Every time I go to your classes, I walk away like, wow.
Well, I'm delighted. All right, but like, think about what does that mean? What does that mean for our lives?
That's very profound,
It's really profound.
because on so many different levels, you don't look at the surface again, but we have to appreciate everyone from wherever they're coming from. So that's where the gates are, all those different passageways we enter through, that we're coming from different places, so we have to appreciate each other, but we also have to appreciate the different stages of development that we have. So the kinds of consciousness that we get to an experience is gonna be very different now, versus when I was a teenager, versus, when I'm 90.
But not all
of the gates work at the same time.
Not all of the gates work at the same time. Do you want to say more about that?
We can go to our security expert. He'll tell us how the gates open.
We have the smell. sometimes the music we have the ears. If we go to a museum, our gate would be the eyes.
Yeah.
So it's like they took turns depending on your environment.
Yeah. Yes, they can take turns depending on the environment. One of them might be more activated more quickly than another. And sometimes if we have a full embodied experience, like we could be, I don't know, cooking, right? And listening to music. So if you're cooking and listening to music and then smelling and you have to taste it and right, so it could be two gates. Well, seeing the food you have to prepare,
Yes.
tasting it through your mouth, smelling it. And then if you're listening to music, hearing, right? So we can create these full body experiences, but also just a question in terms of thinking about what we put into those gates. Right, so there's a lot of talk about taking care of our bodies and what are you eating and are you exercising, right? Do we think about what we put into our eyes and our nose and our ears and our mouths? Like, there's a rule in my house, I watch nothing scary after 9 p.m. I rarely watch anything scary anyway, but if I happen, like, I just can't because it seeps into my consciousness. I don't sleep as well. Right, so what are the things in your own lives that you might be putting into your consciousness, whether you're aware of it or whether you're not aware of it? This is your invitation. This is your Elul invitation. What am I putting into my consciousness through the gates on my face?
So you can train your gates.
You can train your gates.
And you could disallow disturbances.
Yes, you can disallow disturbances, right? You can say, you know what, I'm sorry, you're not welcome. I'm not taking you in.
Gates are two ways though. So it's more than just what you allow in,
Beautiful.
it's what you're conscious of yourself that you allow out.
Yeah,
So it's both ways.
yeah, very beautiful, right? Gates are two ways. So it's not just what we take in, but there's also an element of what goes out, right? Especially with our mouths, right?
Uh-oh.
That was my great grandmother told my mom, who told me the tongue has no eraser. Thank you, Bobby Yetta, right? The tongue has no eraser. So once we say that,
Yeah.
we can't take it back. So it really is important to think about, again, especially during Elul, our spiritual conditioning. Taking in, and also what's our output?
That great story about the feather boa, right? Once you open that up, you can't pick those feathers up.
Yeah,
They're everywhere.
exactly. Yeah, once it comes out of your mouth, you can't bring it back.
And I'm thinking of the miracle of Helen Keller.
Yeah, right, I was thinking about that too.
Had nothing going on at all.
Yeah.
And she made breakthroughs in her own life.
Yeah. Yeah,
How did she do that?
Her soul,
her soul.
that's what kind of united it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking on the preschool side, head, shoulders, knees and toes, and mouth, and ears, and nose, head, shoulders. It's like through your whole lifetime, yeah.
All right, so let's keep going. There is another verse that is also from this Torah portion. Tamim tiyeh im Adonai Elohecha. You must be wholehearted with Adonai your God. I'm on page 2, in the middle of the page, Deuteronomy 18:13. You must be wholehearted. So before you start reading ahead at any of the commentaries, what does it mean to you to be wholehearted? Truthful, honest,
Treat others like you want to be treated.
okay, treat others like you want to be treated.
I think every person is different and where they are on their stage of life, what that means. So
Okay, so
it's an exact thing, I think. At different points in our life, we could give more of ourselves out of one of the time.
okay, so it could possibly change depending on where we are in our life, Spencer.
I take this passage more literally. In the sense of wholehearted is you can't do this half glance. You have to go into it and say, okay, I'm wholeheartedly here. I'm at temple, I'm not here because I'm going through the motions, I'm here because I want to be here.
Okay, great. So to really like show up with your full self, your full presence. Great. Any other thoughts? So I'll just give you a little, yeah, where was it? Oh, I thought that was a hand raise. No, that was not a hand raise. That was a curl fix. Okay. So, tamim is the word in Hebrew. Tamim, tamim. And it has a sense of innocence or pure. So just adding that into the mix of everything that everybody shared, but a sense of like innocence and purity that goes into showing up and wholehearted with all of you and truthful and honest, and it might change depending on our stage in life. So if we look at the next, is there anyone willing to read Rashi on Deuteronomy 18:13 loudly? Go ahead.
Yes.
Where we go?
I just wanted to say also, we have a granddaughter whose name is Tamima,
Tamima,
which I love.
yes, the
Totally.
feminine version of Tamim, Tamima, yeah, that's beautiful.
You shall be wholehearted with Adonai your God. Walk with God wholeheartedly. Put your hope in God. And do not attempt to investigate the future. But whatever it may be that comes upon you, accept it wholeheartedly. So vote for Hineni.
A vote for Hineni. I am here. What is Rashi adding to our understanding of what it means to be wholehearted?
In the moment.
Say
In
it
the moment.
Yeah,
In the moment.
Be in the moment,
Be in the moment. Be in the moment with an awareness of God.
be in a moment, be in the moment with an awareness of God, yep,
Accept it.
accepting,
Do not investigate the future is either about faith and or bitachon, trust in God. Those two, I get them mixed up.
so say it again, it's bitachon is
And trust in God
trace, yeah,
and
oh,
Emunah.
emunah, faith in God.
that not investigate, you don't need to investigate the future if you have faith.
Being the present.
That is true. You don't need to investigate the future if you have faith. Right, so what does that mean to investigate the future?
Worry. So
Worry could be some part of it. Worry about the future. It might not happen. Anybody have any like people who like to do palm reading or tarot cards or psychic or mediums or don't investigate the future. Don't investigate the future.
It's not saying do not plan. It's saying don't investigate, because planning is about what could happen and what we do if those things happen.
Right.
But investigating the future is, let's try to divine what unforeseen things will actually.
Correct, right? So no trying to divine the future, right? For those of you who are like reading your astrological charts, might not be tamim according to this definition. Now, I'm just, go ahead, and then I'll remind me to say something about astrology.
They always are interpreting the stars and what's happening in the atmosphere in terms of who you are and where you're going. So it's part of our tradition.
It is, yes, it is also. That's why I love being Jewish. And, right, I remember reading years ago, I think it was Maimonides who says, no, you really can't do any of this astrological readings unless, right, so it's an unless you remember that God could take God's finger and tap any of those stars, completely changing the constellation and its meaning. So you can't do it, and if you do it, you have to have an understanding that there's really God who's behind all of this anyway.
I read that, thank you, I read that all that, Kabbalah, it could be something that's preordained for you, but at the same time, that we as people have the capacity to rise up and make change.
Yes,
Sure, how would do that, but.
yeah,
At least,
Yes.
space to do that.
yes, so there's free will.
Free
We
will.
have free will, right? It says also in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, Hakol tzafui v'harashut netuna. Everything is foreseen, yet free will is given. Right? Everything is foreseen, but we have the choice of what we are going to do. So if we want to be tamim, how do we show up? Spencer?
I like this quote, it's been coming up with me a lot now, Lou. We make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
Might not be a Jewish quote.
No, it is. It very much is.
Okay, well,
Yes.
regardless, I don't really know where it comes from. Okay, well, good, it's a Jewish quote, but. In my view, every time I've made plans, God is in some way left. And when I haven't made plans, things have tended to work out, so I feel like Rashi's not just saying, don't investigate the future. How do you really know? I think he's saying, and then, but whatever it may be that comes upon you, accept it wholeheartedly. I think he's saying if you don't plan or you be flexible, things are more likely to work out. And while you can plan, you know what, you no matter must be flexible and willing to accept whatever happens.
Yeah, yes, very well said. Right? We need to be flexible with what comes our way. We don't always get to choose what happens to us in life. We only get to choose how we respond. That's
where
it.
I think free will comes in.
Yeah, we don't get to choose what happens to us. We get to choose how we respond. Susan?
What about you'll look before you leap? Because I'm very guilty to then finding myself in some water. I do not say that. I'm in the moment.
That's a great question. So no, it's a great question. And I think, so maybe that is for you what your Elul work will be these next 3 weeks, right? Is to pause, right? Just pause. If that is something that you notice about yourself, great. That's, I feel like I remember when I got married and somebody said to me, everything that you really love about your husband is also eventually going to drive you crazy, right? It's the same side of a coin, right? He's like very organized and I'm like, I can't even get the words out of my mouth and it's already done, right? But then he says to me, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do that? Right? So I feel like if you know for you that you are so gifted at being in the moment and being present, and sometimes you have to think before you leave. So again, it's not, this is also one thing about Elul, which you will probably hear me say many times, please don't use Elul as a way to berate yourself solely, right? Elul is about doing a cheshbon hanefesh and taking an accounting of your soul, but without the beating myself up. What's wrong with me? Why do I always do it this way? This is wrong with me. But it's like, without judgment, I'm going to say, I've noticed that I have a tendency to leap before I think. So yay me that I'm so open-minded to try new things. And here's something I'd like to work on this month. I'm just going to give myself a pause before I make a comment or decision. Right? So please, I just like to put that out there as we are entering this season where we're going to be beating our breasts, right? Asham knew, but God knew, I have sinned. Yes, we missed the mark. And I'd be willing to bet everybody in this room did a lot of really good things this year. So I just don't want to lose that in the process of doing our own accountings.
Well, first of all, I love that you said, Susan, you are gifted by being able to leave and then, and then think about it. That's a gift, and I think that's great. But don't forget, we're getting up every morning and reminding ourselves that we love ourselves. So that should mitigate all the other.
Yes, I hope so. If that's part of, your spiritual work for this month. Yeah. Okay. I want to move on to this next text, you should know. Anybody willing to read that? Any takers? All right, somebody with a loud voice.
Okay, I'm.
But
You should know that the precepts of the heart imply a complete harmony between our inner and outer actions, till the heart and tongue and other limbs will be at one with each other, each one justifying and bearing witness in favor of the other, neither contradicting nor belying each other.
Okay, someone want to put that into their own words? What are we learning from Bachya ibn Pakuda?
I don't even know what that means. Give me a moment.
Yeah. So, yep, you can all read it to yourself one more time.
Would be like when I feel for my heart and connect with somebody or feel. To me, that's my whole body, my whole soul, my whole spirit is within their heart, feeling connected or being.
Oh, that's
connected by heart.
That's a
So it's
beautiful
the whole
image.
body.
Yeah, a whole body experience when you're acting from your heart.
I'm thinking of more like in Kabbalah, they have, let's say, all this stuff they wrote. They're also attached to different body parts or even different men in the Torah. And I feel like, and they're all connected, they're all, each one affects and influences the other. And all of the different Sephirot have like these wonderful things like loving kindness or strictness or truth or knowledge.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're saying this about this, the heart and the tongue and the lips, I don't know where this comes from, but I'm thinking immediately of that kind of picture.
That tree where everything is
right.
interconnected.
Right.
Right, okay, so let's break this, oh, go
I
ahead,
think
Sharon.
also very simply distilling it all, it's like being true to thyself. That you're honest with who you are, where you are, and what your intentions are, so it's really acceptance of self-love.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's also
Yes.
the word shlemut.
Wholeness.
The same root as shalom,
Mm-hmm.
peace within yourself.
Yeah, so it's feeling peace within yourself, right? So till the heart and the tongue and the other limbs will be at one with each other. Right, so if I say, you know what, I'm a really good person. And then I see somebody walking next to me and I feel like sticking my leg out and tripping them. Is that limb really in sync with my thought about myself that I'm a really good person? I don't think so. Right, so if we want to be in alignment, right, we have to align our minds, our hearts, our limbs, so that we are going out into the world and actually physically doing what would be an accurate reflection of the inner work that we have done and that we continue to do. Does that make sense? And please know I would never do that. Unless it was my sister when I was younger. But fortunately, I've matured.
It would be more like a philosophy and like a self-actualization that you're always kind of trying to get to. I don't know.
Yeah,
To me, it sounds like it's really hard to attain.
it is hard to
Because
attain.
we get distracted by other things going on and we hope to be this,
Yes,
but we
correct.
don't always accomplish it.
Yeah, which is why we have Elul every year. We're like, didn't make it last year, wanted to work on this, didn't work out, but you know what? It's great and it's beautiful. There's this yearly cycle of Teshuvah. And maybe for another class at another time, there's actually other processes of Teshuvah throughout the year. There's the bedtime Shema, where we actually forgive everybody before we go to sleep. Any harm that was done, we have a weekly practice of Teshuvah that can be on Thursday night before Shabbat, right? So there's cycles of Teshuvah, like recalibrating and reorienting, built into Jewish practice. The most well-known is Elul and the high holidays, and that's where we are. The period of time which we are in right now. Susan.
So here's the question, I made a list, I mean, I made a note, list what I'm gonna work on, okay, I feel like I have an assignment, but the question is, how many? How many tasks or improvements should I make? 2, can I do 10, cause I really need, you know.
So here, I will give you my answer, but I can't speak for everybody else. So my answer is I like to set people up for success. So I would say start with 1.
Yeah.
Start with 1, and that is gonna be your focus. Now, if after a week you're like, piece of cake, I totally got this, then you can move to 2. But I would say really start with 1. I don't think I would do more than 3 max. Like, I think 1 or 2 to really focus and to give your full attention. And like I said, Bezrat Hashem, with God's help, then you'll be back again next year.
Or next week.
Or next week.
I did it, I didn't do it.
Yeah, but it's also a process to review. So if anybody likes to journal, you can make notes to yourself about what you are working on, what you would like to work on, how it went for you. Maybe you have an accountability buddy and you have a friend for the next few weeks during Elul and you say, okay, I'm gonna work on X, I'm gonna work on Y. We're gonna check in with each other at 7 p.m. We're gonna send each other a text with a check mark to let the other person know that we were doing our Elul work. And through this process is how we begin to get into our spiritual conditioning mode. Any questions before we conclude? Yes,
And 2 things, first I want to welcome a new member of our temple,
Janet.
Janet.
Hi, Janet, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, Janet. And I hope you keep enjoying whatever we've got going, okay, we have a lot going on. The other thing is, Rabbi Lila has asked us to do a project next week. It's not ready this week. Next week, right after this lunch and learn, if all of you, or as many of you can stay, it'll be a real fast project of doing some kind of stringing with bookmarks. So she asked us to please stay afterwards, and I'm responsible, so hopefully. A lot of you will come and just stay a little bit longer and we'll get these bookmarks taken care of for the rabbi.
Great, thank you. All right, my friends, so I thank you for learning with me. I'm gonna ask you to leave these sheets because then, no worries. Then can you put your name at the top? We're gonna use these next week, so I'm gonna let you decide if you want me to hold it or if you would like to bring it back next week. That's fine, totally fine. If you want me to hold it for you, leave it here. If you want to bring it back, that's also fine. Thank you for beginning your spiritual conditioning for Elul, and I will look forward to seeing you next week.